I am so glad that you guys are here and you stopped by my channel. This is my project for the August Hop from Country Craft Creations. And if you are a member of the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations page on Facebook, if you are a subscriber to all of the people who are in the lineup for this hop, there is a chance to win a $50 gift certificate to the store. So make sure you check the description box so that you know who has videos up for this hop. They are the design team members and the owner of the store, Tammy Merrill. So her page is Country Craft Creations, and all of us should have the lineup of the channels for different projects that you can make. So this hop is a themed hop for homemade gifts, and it can be for the holidays or for any gift giving. It all kind of depends on the paper that you're using. And I'm going to be making this popcorn dispenser box, and I'll go through the measurements and give you the supplies that you're going to need here in just a minute. I do want to share with you that in order to be a member on the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations page, that you do need to fill out the questions to be approved. So don't skip that part. So let me go through the project that I'll be making with you. I thought this would be a very good gift for a teacher, for a hairstylist, for a neighbor. Again, depending on the paper you use, it could be for any holiday. But it's going to be kind of hard to show because of the angle of my camera, but this is the lid. So let me just tip this sideways a little bit so you can see that it is a box that holds popcorn, the microwave bags of popcorn, and there's a small opening at the bottom of my box, and as you take one out, you will have the rest of them fall down to the bottom, and then you can keep taking out your bags of popcorn. So I'm going to be using the Paper Collection Family Game Night, and I just think it makes a super cute gift. Now I'm going to be giving these to teacher friends at the beginning of the school year, which by the time you see this, my school year will have already started. So then I just have some of the cut aparts. Now this is not a cut apart from the collection. This is a banner that I had found on clearance somewhere, and I just cut the banner apart and used that individual piece. But there are cut aparts on the side. It has a chipboard base. The whole part of the main box is a thicker chipboard, and then the lid is using the lightweight chipboard. And I also have a handle or a knob here, but this is just a lid that comes off, and then you store the popcorn inside. So it will hold quite a few bags. There's 4 bags in here now, so you could get another probably 6 to 10 bags in there. So it'll hold quite a few bags of popcorn. So this is the project. I have one more that I made just as an example. It's still the same paper collection, just a little bit different look to it because I used the records and some of the different papers. Here's the pop bottles. This paper is so stinking adorable, I can't even tell you. And then on the back is the food. Okay, so same thing. I have some of the chipboard elements, some of the cut aparts. This is from that banner I was talking about, but if you have a Cricut or something, you could easily cut something out. This one is for a man that I work with, and so I tried to make it a little bit more masculine. He might keep this at work on a desk or shelf so that when he's short on lunchtime, he can grab a bag of popcorn instead. So those are the projects. So let's talk about what supplies you're going to need for the base of the box. Now, I don't have the dimensions or the things that you're going to need in the description box. So if you want to freeze your camera or take a picture, this is what you're going to need for the base of the box. So for the chipboard base, now this is like the heavier weights chipboard, you're going to need a 7 by 6.5 piece, 2 that are 7 by 4.5, 1 that is 6 by 6.5, and 1 that's 5 by 7. Now we are going to cover those chipboard pieces using a method that Tammy introduced with some of her albums. Even though this is a box, we're going to make it work. The cardstock you're going to need to wrap those individual pieces. I'm using white for mine. A 9 by 8.5, a 9 by 6, or excuse me, 2 9 by 6.5, an 8 by 8.5, and a 7 by 9. So you'll notice I added 2 inches to each of the chipboard pieces for my wrap. Okay, so that is for the base. Again, you might want to freeze this, write these down, take a screenshot, whatever. Okay, and then for the lid, if you want to get that stuff prepared, the lid is the lightweight chipboard, so it's kind of like a cereal box weight. Tammy also sells the lightweight chipboard in her store, but for this one you're going to need a piece that's 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, 2 that are 7/8 of an inch by 4 7/8, and 2 that are 7/8 by 6 7/8. Now we may have to trim those a hair, but those are some of the basic measurements you want to have them cut to. The cardstock to make the lid, you're going to need just one piece that measures 7 7/8 by 9 7/8. Okay, so again, if you want to take a screenshot. Okay, so I have my pieces pre-cut. That should help the video go a little bit faster. What we're going to do is wrap the individual pieces. So let me show you what I've done. So once I have my chipboard cut out, I did write the measurements. Now the 7 by 6.5 piece is your back piece to the box. And I wrote myself a note that when I'm wrapping this, don't wrap the sides, because we're going to use this back as a connector piece, and so we want the wings out. So that's a reminder to myself not to wrap the whole thing. Okay. Also, I already went ahead and put adhesive on the back of all mine, so that takes a little bit of time, especially if you don't have the score sheets. So you might want to pause this once you get your pieces cut, so you can go back and add your adhesive. Now the 2 that measure 7 by 4.5, those are your side pieces. Those we're going to fully wrap. We don't have to leave the sides undone for that. Again, I have already put my adhesive on the back of the score sheets. The piece that measures 6 by 6.5 is your front piece. This one, when we wrap it, we don't want to wrap the sides, so we're gonna leave the left and the right open. Adhesive's already on the back. I had to patchwork that one. And then that 5 by 7 piece is the bottom or the base, and this one we can fully wrap. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let me, oops, I guess I don't need that. I'm going to show you how I wrap these. You may already be familiar with that. And so I'll probably wrap the majority of them. So if you want to stay with me, you can. If not, you can fast forward if you know how to do all the wrapping. Just remember those 2 pieces that we did not do the sides. So when I place this down, I'm going to use my ruler. You can also use these 1-inch guides, like I have chipboard cut, and you just lay those out on your, oopsie, you can lay those out on your scoreboard after you put your paper down. So if my paper's on my scoreboard, like so, and if I put these 1-inch strips down, that's going to tell me where I need to lay this piece of chipboard so that I have a 1-inch border all the way around. So that makes it pretty easy. Those strips are pretty handy. Let me take off the backing of this piece. See how fast that is when you have those score sheets? And I just want to make sure that I'm holding those down. I'm going to butt it up against the side and the top, lay it down. And you do want to burnish that so that it stays on and it sticks real well. So I will just get my burnishing tool, which is somewhere nearby that I don't see right now. Here's another one. All right, and I just want to make sure that that's on. So that's what I'm going to do to start all of my pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and adhere all of my chipboard to the paper. So you can go ahead and join me and do that, or you can fast forward. I want to make sure that I have this the right way. Yep. All right. 1-inch borders. Okay. Again, I did paper piece this one, but still faster than doing those 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch strips. I have started to really like the 1-inch score tape also. There's 2-inch. I know that Tammy sells the 1-inch because I buy it from her, but let's go ahead and remove the backing of all this. Now you can also choose to use a different adhesive. You don't have to use the score sheets. You could use your art glitter glue too. Now because we're going to cover these with pattern paper, you won't really see any bumps if you use the glue. Okay, so let me make sure that I have this. I'm going to push down on these strips so they don't move on me. Okay, turn it over and I'm going to burnish. I'm going to do my two sides next. Lay that down. Get my strips ready. Now, if you don't have the strips, obviously you can just use a ruler and lay it down so that you have your 1-inch guide. Some people score their paper where the 1-inch border is. Okay, now I lost my little tool. Oh, there it is. So there's different ways to measure the 1 inch. Some people just eyeball it. It's whatever works for you. But I have decided that I like it to be a little bit more precise, so I don't eyeball this. I use measurements. Look at, boop, how fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and lay this one down. Burnish it. There's another one the same size. Move your backing or put your glue on or whatever. So I think this popcorn holder, I'm trying to think of what else you could put in there. If there was something else that would fit besides popcorn, you could change the dimensions and maybe add something else. I don't know, fruit snacks or something, depending on the size. That might be good for a daycare provider or something. And it could just be a closed box with a lid that you store bags of tea in or something. Okay, yep. And this goes pretty quick once you've got that adhesive on there. And this is just one big sheet, so that is going to be fast to prepare it. If I can get that corner. Come on, there we go. All right. And there's that. You know what? I think I had this the wrong way. Maybe not. I might have. Shoot. Should I don't know. I'll make it work. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I think I might have had my paper turned the wrong direction. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first of all how to do the wrapping of the two sides and the bottom, because these we're all going to do the same way. Okay, so if you're not familiar with wrapping, you'll want to watch this. This is how we're going to do the two that are 7 by 4.5 and the one that's 5 by 7. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of train my paper. So I'm going to bend my paper by wrapping, lifting up my chipboard and giving it a crease. Okay, I am going to go ahead and then burnish that so that it wraps easier. Now there's different ways you can miter your corners. It can be something that you have a preferred way to do it. If you have never wrapped it before, you can watch and see how I do it and see if that's something that you're interested in. So if you follow Tammy on Scrapbookers, Country Craft Creations, she cuts where you have the square from the overlapping creases. She cuts that square out where you go straight to the chipboard and cut out that square. You can do it that way. I have a handy tool that I kind of like to use because I like the looks of the angle instead. Doesn't matter though. You can do it whichever way you like. So this tool just makes sure that, because if you're angling when you're mitering, you don't go straight to the chipboard. You need to leave a little bit of a gap. I'd say about a 1/8 inch space from the chipboard. So this tool just kind of makes it easier. Now I will have to go back and cut that off because it doesn't go from one end to the other. But at least I know I'm getting the right amount away from the corners. Now some people put their score tape on before they do the mitering to make sure they get it full coverage. I don't want to waste any score tape, so I just wait until my corners are mitered. All right. So now that we have the corners mitered, there's some trash over here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm going to place that around the perimeter of the chipboard and on the paper. And I want a good stick. So I would rather use a little bit too much adhesive than not enough. So you're going to see that I'm going to use both score tape and art glitter glue. So just around the perimeter of both the chipboard and the cardstock. This cardstock is the artisan cardstock that Tammy sells in her store. You will not find a better, more durable paper out there. Now I know the weight is between 80 and 90 pounds. I'm not sure of the exact number, but there is linen in it. It's called linen cardstock, and that helps prevent breakage. You might, depending on where you live and the weather, the climate, that type of thing, sometimes you might get a crack randomly here or there. I usually don't have that ever occur. If it does, I just put a little glue on my finger and I rub it on where it kind of looks like it might be frayed or a little bit of a breaking, and then I just rub that glue on there to lay it down. All right, so let's go ahead and burnish our score tape so that when we take off the backing it doesn't come up. And I like to do my long sides first, don't know why, just always have. So I'm going to get my art glitter glue, and this can be purchased at the store. And I had a friend of mine that I met at one of the Country Craft Creations retreats, Debbie, made these glue toppers, and how stinking cute is that? And it's just the right size. It's not too heavy that it overpowers the bottle, and it's got a long needle in there so that it's easier to keep it from getting clogged. So what I do then is I'm going to run a bead of glue up against the chipboard, and I'm just going to give it a second to soak in so it kind of softens the fibers a little bit. I'm going to take off the backing on the long sides, and I am going to take the backing off of the sides on the chipboard only because it'll get in the way when I'm wrapping. So let's go ahead and take off the chipboard backing to our tape. Come on, there we go. All right, so now that I have the glue up against the chipboard, I'm now going to place some glue in between the chipboard and that piece of score tape that I have. And I'm going to bring it up and over, and I want to smooth it so it's nice and flat. I'm going to burnish it. Now I do have a little bit of glue that snuck out, so I'm just going to quickly get that out of the way. So go ahead and burnish. Now after you've done the burnishing on this, you do want to lift it up so that you get the side, and because we have that glue there, it's going to give it a really nice edge. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other sides. So I'm going to go ahead and put the glue up against the chipboard, give it a chance to kind of soak in. I'm going to remove the backing. I'm going to fill in the empty space with some additional glue. And bring it up and over. Nice and smooth. I start in the middle and kind of work my way out to the edges. And I burnish with my burnishing tool on the top. And then I do it on the side. And it gets a nice flat edge. Now, because of how I miter my corners, I have some excess at the corner, so I'm just gonna, I want to make sure that paper goes around the corner of the chipboard. So I'm just going to use my nail and kind of wrap it around and push that excess down. You can also use your, what do you call it? Burnishing tool or your bone folder. Okay. And glue up against the chipboard just like we did the other sides. Fill in the empty spots with glue. Up and over, again, kind of tuck in, make sure that paper goes around the corner of the chipboard. Burnish that real well. Make sure it's down nice and flat, and the edge. So you'll see that the corner is fully covered. There's no chipboard showing through. Now, you would do the same thing if you did the squares that you cut out instead. You just won't have this extra paper to push down on the edges here. So that's kind of nice. Like I said, I just do the older way because I like the look of the angle. Like here in the corner, you can see where the two pieces meet at an angle. I like that. Here we go with our glue. Up and over. Give it a good burnish. And the edge. So this is looking pretty professional. Look at how smooth because of the score sheets. The edges are really flat because of the art glitter glue. Okay, so you're going to wrap 3 pieces like this. The 2 that are 4.5 by 7. And the bottom piece that's 5 by 7. Hold off on the back and front until I come back to show you how we're going to do that. I have my 2 sides wrapped and my bottom piece. Okay, so let's go ahead and set those off to the side. So go ahead and find your 7 by 6.5 inch piece. Now you are going to want the width of our box is 6.5 inches. So you want to make sure that we're looking at the 6.5 going horizontally, okay, going across. And let's go ahead and still bring up our chipboard and find that natural crease. Let's go ahead and burnish just like we did before. These, remember, we're not going to do the sides right now, so that's why this one and the front are a little bit different. All right, now normally if you are used to cutting out the square in the corner, we are not going to cut out the square. We're not going to miter it at an angle. You are going to see that there is a square when you have the 2 lines intersect where we creased it. So looking at that square, you want to cut off from one corner to the opposite corner, so you're really taking off a triangle, like so. Okay, so you can see there's part of the square is still there. We took off just the triangle from one edge to the next. You're going to do that on all 4 corners. So I'm looking at the square that's in the corner from where the lines intersected, and going from one corner to its opposite, cut off the triangle. All 4 sides. So while that's fresh in our head, let's do the front also. So we want the 6.5 inches going across the side. So I think I wrote mine sideways. So let's go ahead and crease. There we go. Burnish. Okay, and on all 4 corners where we see that square, we're going to go ahead and cut from one corner of it to the other to take off the triangle. like so. All right, so let me get the scraps put away here. All right, so I'm going to go back to my back piece that was 7 by 6.5. Again, we want it to be 6.5 wide, so I want it going 6.5 this way, and it's 7 tall. So we are going to wrap the top and the bottom, but not the sides. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just put score tape on the top and the bottom of the chipboard. And I like to go ahead and put score tape along the edge of the cardstock also. We are going to be using art glitter glue in addition to the score tape. And I want to burnish that. Let's go ahead and do that same procedure to the front piece. So I want it 6.5 inches across. Okay. That's the top, that's the bottom. Score tape on the chipboard, just on the top and the bottom is all the only places you need it. And on the cardstock. Like so. Let's go ahead and burnish that also. All right, so while this one's here, we might as well just keep working on this one. So I'm going to wrap by putting the top and the bottom over the chipboard. Before I do that, I want to put glue in between the chipboard and the edge of the cardstock, but I need to fill in even these little corners on the side. Okay, so place glue. Let me take off the backing of my, I'm going to do the one closest to me. That's easier. So I'm going to take off the backing of my score tape. And just like before, I'm going to go ahead and put a bead of glue against the chipboard, bead of glue. Now, before we just put glue in between the chipboard and that score tape, on this we also need to get these little corners because we want those to lay down flat. So those little triangles that are left, that gets glue. Bring it up and over. And burnish. Even those sides. We want those down flat. And I want to get the edge so it's nice and smooth. Okay. So now let's turn it around and do the other, which would be either the top or the bottom. Come on. Sometimes I can get that backing off fast, sometimes I can't. Go ahead and place your glue. Remember, all the way to the edge, so even those triangles at the edge. Okay, we go up and over. We burnish the whole thing down there. Even those edges on the sides. Pick it up and do the side here so it's smooth. Okay, so this is our top and our bottom. Before we do that to the other piece, making sure that this is dry, give it a second. If you're using art glitter glue, it dries quickly. Let's go ahead and now angle those edges, miter them so that there is, so when we attach it to our box, none of this will stick up over the box. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my paper over. I'm going to rest my scissors up against that chipboard, and I'm going to take a light miter. Okay, and my scissors were doing something funky. There we go. Okay. Now this one I don't have to turn over. I want it back on the raw side here. Rest your scissors up against the corner of the chipboard and do a slight angle. We're going to do that to all 4 corners, but on 2 of them you have to turn it upside down. Okay. Now, I just want to make sure. Now we're gonna, I'm gonna bring this over, and I'm just gonna make sure that I burnish it real well, the sides. Now this is the front piece, and we're gonna be wrapping, attaching this a little bit different. These are gonna, because this is the front, I don't want to see the separate pieces where we attach the sides, so I'm going to wrap these wings on the outside of our side pieces, and I'll get to that in a second. All right, so let's do the same thing now with the back. Okay, so remember it's 6.5 across, so the top and the bottom, we're working with this, the top and the bottom is 7 inches. So just like before, go ahead and take off the backing. And when you put your glue on, glue all the way from one end to the other, even that little triangle on the corner. Oops, I didn't do that. Okay. Because if you don't do those little corners, they stick up and it's not going to lay as nice. Burnish. I'm using a Teflon burnishing tool. I like using those. I have 2 different ones I use. This one's at an angle, and then I have one that I like a lot right here. That's flat, so I like both of them. Turn it around, do the other side. And put your glue on. All the way to the edge here. And over, starting at the middle, then I branch out to flatten it. I don't want any ripples or any bumps. Alrighty. Give that glue a chance to dry a little bit, and then we're going to miter the corners like we did before. So resting your scissors up against the corner of the chipboard, angle out. If I'm going to turn this upside down so I can get my scissors resting up against the corner of the chipboard, angle out. All 4 corners. Which corner did I miss? This one. Now I do want to go ahead and bring the sides up and over and burnish those. Now on this back piece, we're going to do something extra because we're going to wrap these wings to the inside of the connecting sides. Okay. So let's, you know what, we could do it on the outside too. I'm going to do it on the inside. Okay. So now kind of bend it backwards, burnish it. We want to get that defined line where the chipboard is. Now because I'm using Artisan, I can get in there and give it a good burnish without having to worry about the paper ripping. But see, by doing that, I can see a very defined line where the chipboard ends. I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm just going to kind of bend it backwards. And then that gives me my defined line. Now because this isn't an album, we don't have to make sure that these can go back and forward real easily. Once we attach it, it's going to stay that way. Okay. All right, so let's connect some pieces here. Let me get this out of the way. So take your back piece, that's 6.5 by 7, and get your two side pieces that are 7 by 4.5. So we're going to be attaching these 7-inch sides together, like so. But we're going to have these, let me back up. I want to have this wing to the inside. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to attach these 3 pieces. So to do that, I'm going to turn them all upside down so we see the finished side. And I'm going to attach the sides right up against that chipboard back piece. Okay, so right up against there. So to prepare my sides, I'm going to go ahead and turn it sideways so it's easier for me to work with. I'm going to place some score tape about 1/8 of an inch away from that chipboard crease that I made. About 1/8 of an inch away. And I'm going to also put score tape on the edge here. And then I'm going to fill in the other parts with glue. So let me burnish this. Now I am going to put, I got a little bit of overhang on, where's my scissors? I have a little bit of overhang on my glue, tape. All right, so like I said, I'm going to put glue in between here, and I am going to put just a little bit of glue on the edge closer to the chipboard, just so that I can kind of move this around and push it up against there and make sure it has a strong hold. Okay, so I'm working with this so it's easier for me. So this is actually a side, the side of the back. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to take off the backing. Now this takes the place of construction strips. I don't like those. Actually, I hate them. I never get them lined up right. All right, so now I'm going to place glue in between the 2 pieces of score tape that I had. And I am going to put just a little bit on the edge of that score tape. I'm going to place my side right up against that chipboard, as close as it will go. You'll see a bump, even though that's fine. Push down, turn it over, and burnish. Now we're going to attach the other side the same way. Okay, so now I'm going to add my score. I'm going to let this dry before I do anything else with that. I'm going to go ahead and place my score tape about 1/8 of an inch away from the chipboard. And I'm going to put one at the very edge. Go ahead and remove the backing. And we're going to fill in with glue in between the score tape pieces. And I'm going to put one on the edge of the piece of score tape closer to the chipboard. Butt it up right against the chipboard, making sure you check to make sure it's lined up top, bottom, side to side. As close as it'll go to that chipboard. I'm going to press down, then I'm going to flip it over and burnish. So this is the back and the side. Okay. Now, before we add our front piece, it's going to make more sense if we put our pattern paper on the inside. So let me get the measurements and cut mine, and I will be back to let you know what I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch shorter on all 4 sides of my back and my side pieces. Okay. So I'm going to want 6 7/8 by 6 3/8 for the back piece. And if your paper is directional, remember it would be 6 3/8 going this way. And the side pieces are going to be 4 3/8 by 6 7/8. Now let me check. I don't remember how I... Okay. So I can see the edge of this chipboard. So if you want to put a white strip of paper right here and a small piece right here, just to kind of cover that up, so that when you look in the box, just to make sure you don't see any chipboard. So let me get my strips and my pattern paper, and I'll be back to show you what I am talking about. I am going to take some scrap pieces that are 6 7/8 inches long or tall, and I'm going to just kind of overlap them a little bit on the seam where they're connected, just so that when I lay down my pattern paper, I don't see any chipboard, just in case. So these don't have to be perfect. And you know what, I think I'm going to usually I make them bigger, but because it's a box and not an album, I didn't care about how wide they were really. So let me just quickly put some score tape on the perimeter. This one looks like it's about 1.5 inches wide. And like I said, just look through your scraps and see what you have. You don't have to worry about it. What was the word I was going to say? Usually I put it here too. Oh, I might put one piece here. Why not? Just a little bit. Just in case I want to hide that. Alright, so do that to both of the spine pieces. I'll fill in with some glue. This one looks like a little bit wider, but not much. Now I'm going to do the same kind of paper on the inside, on all 4 sides on the inside. I am going to have to paper piece the front a little bit on the inside, but you really won't see it anyway because the lid will be on, and I wanted to use all of my paper wisely, so like I said, I'll have to paper piece just a little bit. Okay, now here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get these pieces down. So, can you see me on the screen? Probably not. I'm going to go ahead and take the backing off. And then I'll add some glue. And we'll get that laid down. Trying to get ahead of myself. Alrighty. Burnish it down real good. Now I am going to find the crease here in just a second, but let's go ahead and glue this one down, and then we'll put our pattern paper on. All right. burnished it and it still doesn't want to separate. There we go. Okay. Glue. Now this is okay. Like I said, you're going to feel, I will have a little bump, but it's going to be on the inside. Like nobody for real is going to see that at all. I would have been more conscious of it if it was an actual album and you were going to be opening and closing. Okay, so then go ahead and find that crease like so, and same here. All right, so we are going to put our pattern paper. I did not ink my edges on this. It's a white border and the paper has a white edge, so I didn't feel like I needed to. So this middle piece, if it's 6.5 wide, this is 6 3/8, and because the book is 7, I went 6 7/8, and I'm just going to use glue, and I'll put that middle piece down first. This does not require that much pattern paper. I think we'll be able to decorate the whole thing with about 4 sheets and some cut aparts. So if you're at the end of a project and you still have quite a bit of paper, this would be a good way to use it. Okay. This paper's cute. This is the family game night paper, and it's textured, which means it is Cartabella. Is it Cartabella? Let me check. Yep, sure is. When it's textured, it's either Authentique or Cartabella, and I knew it wasn't Authentique, so. Okay, same on the sides. I'm not going to ink these this time, which is weird for me, but boy does it go faster when you don't have to ink the edges. Okay. Burnish it down. Now the reason why we're not doing the front yet of decorating the other side, well, we're going to decorate the other side, but in sections until we attach that front piece. That's very random. It didn't sound very clear. You'll understand here in a second. But usually you decorate the outside and leave the inside open until you do the connecting. But because of how we're connecting the sides, it's just a little bit different. All right. And let's go ahead and burnish that. How cute is this paper? All right, so let me show you what we're going to end up doing. And some of you probably already have figured it out. So this is our front piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to have these up, and instead of attaching these to the inside, we're going to attach it to the outside. So you'll notice that the front is a little bit shorter. Maybe you can't see that. The front's a little bit shorter, so you can get the popcorn package out. And by putting those on the outside, you don't see that connecting piece. Okay, so we can put our pattern paper on in the front and back of the front. We can do this back, and that'll make it a little bit easier so that you don't have to pattern everything when it's already in a box, because then it makes it a little bit more challenging. So here's where I'm going to do my paper piecing. So on the inside, you're not going to see the inside of this very much, okay, because there'll be a lid And when just the way it's made, so I didn't care that I was a little bit short paper. If that bothers you, then make sure you measure correctly. But I'm going to paper piece, and see, it's not even the right height. But I'm going to be able to live with this. I'm just going to center this like so and go with that. Okay, so that way I don't waste any of my paper. And where's my glue? If you want to do it the correct measurements, it would be 6 3/8 across, and it would be 5 7/8 tall. But like I said, I'm using scraps. Now I wouldn't do that, you know, I wouldn't short it if it was on any other side except for the inside front. The other ones, you don't want to do that. Okay, let me turn this sideways. Now I do, because I don't have any white paper here, I do want to go all the way to the edge, so I cover up all that chipboard. Okay. I think I did that with my other boxes too, because the way I cut my paper, I had close to the amount, but not all the amount, so I think I paper pieced the other ones too. So then this one, even if this is a gift, which I hope you make it for a gift, they're never going to know for real. So, all right, let me line this up. That is perfect. Well, as perfect as it's going to get anyway. Okay. I feel like the camera got bumped. Sorry, it might be making you dizzy. Okay. Okay, so all my insides are done. So because this wraps to the outside, we cannot do the side pieces, but let's go ahead and put pattern paper on the front and on the back. I'm going to have those two patterns be the same, and then I'm going to use a different pattern on my two sides. So the measurements are going to be 4 3/8 by 6 7/8. You'll need 2 of those for the sides. The back is going to be 6 3/8 by 6 7/8. And the front, what was that? 6 3/8 by 5 7/8. Okay, so let me pick out my paper for that, get that papered, and then I'll show you how to put that together, and then the lid. This is going pretty fast. Okay, after you have put the pattern paper on the front and on the back, it is time to attach this front piece to the main part of the box. Now you're going to want to line it up at the top, not the bottom, because the bottom is where the popcorn comes out. So you'll notice there is about 1 inch at the bottom. Okay, so let us try to decide if I want just glue or if I want, I think I'll do score tape. Just a combination of adhesive. I don't know why. I'm just going to put score tape on the very end so that I know it's going to lay down flat and I'll get a full coverage. And I'm going to do one side at a time when I attach it. Okay, and I'm going to do glue on the rest of it. And I just want to make sure that it goes all the way to the top. And I'm going to push down to make sure that it's lined up with that chipboard. So let me get some adhesive on here. Take off that backing. And fill this in with plenty of glue. And I do want to get close to that chipboard. Okay. So line it up at the top. And sure you press down so it's tight up against that chipboard. So I'm going to stop here, and while it's flat, it's just going to be easier to put on that side paper. For the sides, I have these red pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that one. This was 4 3/8 by 6 7/8. Go ahead and burnish that puppy down. Okay, so now the last part, make sure my corners are down, is just to do the other side. And again, take it to the very top, and we want to make sure that we pushed this down so that's right up against that chipboard. They're gonna be like, but it's wobbly. We still have the base to put on, and that will prevent the wobbliness. So the last part to this. Glue. And go ahead and burnish that. And I'm going to go ahead and put the pattern paper there. How cute would this be for a movie night with friends and you brought this? Oh, they'd love you. Okay. And I'm going to burnish that, making sure the corners are down real well. Okay, so that's what we have so far. So now the bottom was the 5 by 7 piece, and I just put 6 7/8 by a 4 5/8 piece on each side. So now I have to decide what color do I want to see. So when we glue this down, we are going to see this bottom. So I'm trying to decide if I want red or blue, and I think I want blue. So this is the part that we have to make sure, try and center it side to side. And I want to take it back. I want to make sure I have it on as far back as I can go. Like so. Okay, and we're going to stick that down using just glue. Onto our base. So we're going to let it sit and dry for a while. So you just have to do along the edges here, we're just going to put glue all the way around, okay, on those 3 sides. And you try and have a steady hand here. And it's going to dry clear, so I mean, if you get off a little bit. This is another reason why it's good that we burnish these sides so well and they have a nice flat edge. All right, so the moment of truth, we're going to stick this down. This is about right, so I'm just going to press for a second, and then I'm going to leave it alone and just put it off to the side while we make the lid. But I want to press it down for a little bit. You could put something heavy maybe on top, like a book or something, to try and get it to stick. Alright, so let me move this off to the side. Okay, so now it's time for the closure, the lid. And let me give you the measurements for that, and you can write it down or take a screenshot. Let me clean up my area just a hair. Okay, all right. So what we are going to do is take the thin, lightweight chipboard. This is like cereal box, it's wiggly. And I cut one at 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. One or two that are 7/8 by 4 7/8. And two that are 7/8 by 6 7/8. Now we might end up trimming those a hair, but that's the basics. And then the cardstock is 7 7/8 by 9 7/8. Okay. All right. So now we're going to score this cardstock that measured 7 7/8 by 9 7/8. And on all four sides, we are going to score it 1/2 and then 1 1/2. So that's not what I want. Okay, so score at 1/2 and 1 1/2. Turn it 1/2 and 1 1/2. Turn it again 1/2 and 1 1/2. Turn it again 1/2, 1 1/2. Okay, so you should have. The lighting makes it kind of hard to see, but okay, can you see those score lines a little bit? Probably not. Okay, so now we are going to make our box, and you'll notice that there is on each corner there's a little rectangle, a square, and a rectangle along the outside. There's okay, so a rectangle, a square, and a rectangle. Then there's a bigger square right here. So there's a total of 4 pieces in that corner. So I'm going to mark how we're going to cut this, and I'm looking at my paper like this is the shorter side, this is the longer side. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to have you cut straight on the line up to the second score mark. Cut straight up to that second score mark. Now I want you to lightly taper that 1/2 inch like so. I'm trying to get closer so you can see. Okay, now we're going to cut straight, yeah, we'll make it easy for you. Cut straight up on that 1/2 inch score mark to the second score mark. So we cut that up. And when we cut this one off, let's cut it at an angle. So this is what I have. Cut off that 1/2 inch rectangle that's left at the bottom, like so. Now we do want to taper this square a little bit so that it doesn't show anything when we make our box, and so it's easier to fold up. So I'm just taking off 2 little slivers So this is what I have. Okay, I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to go to the inside score mark, and I'm going to cut straight up to the second score. I'm going to then angle like so. On the right hand side, going over to that first 1/2 inch score mark, I'm going to cut up to the second score. And when I cut that piece off, I am going to angle it. I'm going to cut off this bottom rectangle that's left here. And I'm going to taper the sides of this square that we left. Like so. All right, now go ahead and do that to the other 2 corners opposite. I have cut all my corners correctly. I've gone through and I have burnished all of my score marks. Okay, so you are going to take that thin chipboard now and you're going to place it on the inside, and you might need to trim yours a hair because it doesn't need, yeah, I'm going to have to trim mine just a hair. You want it just about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch away from the edges. So let me do a quick trim. So let's see. All right, that looks much better. So originally it was 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and I just trimmed a little bit off. So hold up your sides, make sure that it will go up without buckling the chipboard. You're going to want to do the same thing with the side pieces. Lay them down. Yep, I'm going to have to trim this one a hair too. And you want to hold it up to see if that fits without getting in the way of the bottom piece. So let's see if that fits better. Yep, I'm happy with that one. So that means I'm probably going to have to trim this one too. I certainly am. And nope, that's still not enough. Okay, that works. And the long sides, you got to trim just a hair. So it looks like it's going to be closer to 6 5/8 instead of 6 3/4. That one works. And my last one. Okay, good. All right, so I have put some adhesive on the back with score tape. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the empty spots with glue. And again, you are going to want to center it so it doesn't go over any score marks. So let me take this backing off. Now, this might sound weird, but I'm actually going to, when I put the knob on, you're going to see the nail or the screw on the inside of the lid, and that doesn't bother me. You could put the knob on and then put pattern paper on the inside, but I don't like that buckling of the paper, so it doesn't bother me to see that screw head. So when I get to that point, I'll remind you that you could do your knob first instead of the paper. I'm going to do the paper first. Okay. So now I'm just going to go in and fill in. Now there's going to be pattern paper on the other side, so if there's any kind of bumps or ridges, it will be covered. And come on, glue. Is that too long? Okay. All right, so let's just fill in with some glue here. All right, and I want to make sure it doesn't go over any score marks. And if my head gets in there, sorry. And burnish that down. And we're going to do the same thing to the long sides and the short sides. Now when we place these on the sides, you want to put it as far to the top as possible, and then bend over that 1/2 inch to see if you want to bump it up all the way to that edge, okay, so that you have more space down here. So you want it to go as far to the top as possible when you put that 1/2 inch over. Don't put it close to the bottom, more towards the top. Okay, it'll fold up nicer. And we're going to do all 4 of these sides. Okay, so I'm going to center it, and before I press down too hard, I'm going to make sure I can push it up against that 1/2 inch and burnish. I'm going to do the opposite long side next. It doesn't matter, you can go around in any order you want. I just had that little pokey tool. Where'd it go? Oh, right there. Isn't that crazy that you can have a tool right in front of your face, you're looking right at it, and then you still are like, where is it at? I can't see it. It's ridiculous. Okay, so let me show you again. When I put this down, I'm going to center it, but before I push it all the way down, I'm going to bring that 1/2 inch lip up and make sure that it's as close to that 1/2 inch as possible, closer to the top rather than the bottom. And I'm going to repeat the same thing on these sides. This will give the lid a little bit more stability. Excuse me. Center it in between. Bring that 1/2 inch and burnish. So again, this is another way of putting together the box without using the construction strips, and it's going to have a finished edge because this 1/2 inch will be folding over, so you won't see the raw edge of the chipboard. Okay. Now before I put the paper on the inside, let's go to the opposite side. This is the outside of my lid, and I'm going to go ahead and put my pattern paper on the lid. And I chose this, which is going to match the bottom, so you'll see that those go together. And then I'm going to do red on the sides, and the red matches the red that's on the side. Again, I did not ink these. You can if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and place the middle one down first. Make sure you get the edges real well so that it lays down and those corners don't flap up on you. If you have a little bit of extra glue that comes out, just use a dry wet wipe and wipe that off. And we want to make sure we burnish it real well so we don't see any ripples or bumps in the paper from the glue. Make sure if your paper is directional, you know which is the front of the box and which you want to be the back of the box. And at this point it doesn't matter, but depending on what paper you choose, you do need to be aware of the direction of your paper. I think that this burnishing tool just helps me get more coverage when I am pressing down, and can handle the weight that I put on it to get it to stick. Okay, so this paper is not directional, so it doesn't matter. These are 7/8 by think these are 6 3/4. They're pretty darn close anyway. Okay, so I'm going to lay those down. Again, we're working on the outside of the lid. I just think this is so stinking cute. And burnish. And then once you add your decorations, oh, adorable. I think this would be so cute in Halloween paper. The edges. Center it. Do a dry fit first. Make sure it's the right length. Looks a little patriotic right now. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. And one more. Remember, when you, after you're done making these projects, post a picture on the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations page on Facebook. We'll love to see the paper you choose and how yours turned out and how you may have added your own touch. All right, so let's take a look on the inside again. Now we're going to be taking these tabs and putting them on the inside, and then we're going to take the 1/2 inch flap and put it over there on the across the top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do 2 sides at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one and this one, and you might want to have some clothespins handy. And I'm going to bring this up and over and make sure the sides line up. And then I'm going to kind of push it and then put a clothespin there while I do the other side. Make sure they line up nice. Give it a pinch. And I'm going to put a clothespin there. Actually, I might go ahead and fold that over just to kind of help. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put glue on the tabs. I'm going to have to open these back up. Then alrighty, glue. And line them up. Just making sure that these are sticking. I need to add a little glue to this one. too. Okay. Oh, that feels like it's... Okay, so at this point, if you want if you're putting on a knob like I am, the kind that has the screw at the bottom, you're going to take a dowel, find your center, make a hole. Is that called a dowel? I think that's what it's called. And then you're going to put your knob on and put the screw in on that side. Then you would cover it with paper so it covers the screw. I'm not going to do that because for some reason that little lump bothers me in the paper, so I'd rather see the screw. All right, so let's fold down the 1/2 inch lips and bring them over the chipboard so it covers the raw edge. And you'll just want to burnish that so it lays flat. Okay, and continue to do that on all 4 sides. I'm going to do the opposite side. Putting glue here on that 1/2 inch. Bring it up and over. Press down and kind of hold it for a second before you let it go. Get your burnishing tool. And the 2 short sides. Last one. This is really irritating me, I can see. All right, so now we have no more raw edges. All right, so either put on your knob or let's go ahead and put the pattern paper on the inside of the lid. And those measurements I did the same as the pattern paper on the outside. What did I drop here? Making a mess. Okay. So, want to make sure that this fits inside without any buckling, and it does. And it covers the chipboard that I laid down in there. So let's go ahead and adhere the bottom piece first. And I'm not going to use score tape because it's on the inside. I'll just get real close to the edge, and then if I have any glue come out, I will get a wet wipe and wipe that up. A diaper wipe or whatever you want to call it. Okay, Again, if your paper is directional, if you have a certain one that you want to be facing the front, I don't think the inside matters as much because you're not really going to see it, but and just make sure the corners and the edges are down real well. Okay, and now the sides. Again, do a dry fit first to make sure that it fits and you don't have to do any trimming. I'm going to put this more towards the bottom rather than the top, just to make sure that there's no chipboard showing, but I don't think that'll be an issue. But you have that nice white edge, so it's okay that you go more towards the bottom. Slide that in. And burnish. Same procedure over and over. Make sure that I don't have to trim this one. Nope, looks good. Okay, 2 down, 2 to go. Making sure the edges are down. This one, nope, it fits. I love this paper with the spinners on it, the Game of Life. It's so cute. All right. Okay folks, last one, and then it's going to be the knob, and then time to embellish and decorate. And I'm not going to do the decorating on camera because that will get kind of boring. And you've seen my examples from the pictures at the, from me showing you at the beginning. But I will show you what I'm using for that, where I got that popcorn banner thing to use to decorate the front that I thought was so cute. I think it was at Tuesday morning, but mine is out of business now. They closed their doors. It makes me so sad. All right, so the inside and the outside. Now, if you are, mine is directional. I want the letters facing me. So this was 4 3/4. So I'm going to want to go about 2 3/8 down. And I might just use a pencil and kind of make a mark. So they're about there. And then going across, it's going to be about 3 3/8-ish. About right here. Okay, so that's where I'm going to place. So I'm going to put my hand on the other side to make sure I don't, I mean, I'm not going to poke my finger, but it should come in between my fingers. And I'm just going to twist back and forth to make the hole large enough so that it will fit the screw. So I'm going to poke the screw up through the bottom. And it fits. See, so this is what I was talking about. I see it, but I don't care. That's okay with me. And, ooh, I'm off just a hair, but I can live with it. I'll decorate it so you don't even notice. And then I just got to screw this on. I say that, but I'm starting to lose my grip. Okay. Almost there. Okay, so there's that. And I'll add some decoration from the sticker sheet and from the, I think I have some chipboard pieces left. So this is, let's double check that the lid fits. Wouldn't that be awful if it didn't? And it does. Perfect. So that's where we're at right now. Okay, so now it's time to decorate and I'll be back. I forgot I was going to show you the popcorn banner that I got. This is Paper Love. And like I said, it was from Tuesday morning, but it's just a banner of popcorn. And I'm just cutting them out and using them individually. And I'm going to mat it on paper to make it stand out. And I'll put that somewhere on the front. Okay. So that's what I was talking about when I was talking about the banner. But like I said earlier, if you have a Cricut or something, I'm sure you could find a popcorn box. All right, the popcorn dispenser box is done. I just ended up putting the chipboard pieces and some stickers. Some I matted, some I didn't. This one kind of looks very similar to the ones that I had shown at the beginning. I have my popcorn box. I cut out, I used foam dots to bump that up. Some stickers and a bow. The sides just have cut aparts that I matted. And so that is the final project. So again, there was this one. There's this one, and there was this one. So I hope that you found this to be a fun tutorial. I think it'll make great gifts, and I think that you should make this and then post pictures on the Scrapbookers page. If you have questions, let me know, but the measurements have all been inside this video. I hope you are enjoying the hop. Check the description box for the other participants and go to their channels and subscribe. Remember, if you are a member of the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations Facebook page, you can be eligible for a $50 gift certificate. I will mark in the title when that is over, so that people, I don't know when the due date is, but I'll mark when the contest is over. So have a great evening, day, whatever time it is at your place, and I appreciate you watching. Have a great one, everybody.